Thank you all for coming, taking part today as we read in Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Understanding Bhagavad Gita is the key to spiritual advancement, because our movement, Kali Kali Dharma, Krishna Nam Sankirtan, Shakti Jnana Hitarabhakana. The Dharma for this age of Kali is chanting the holy name of Krishna. And but to anything we do in this world, it's because we have a taste for it. That's why we do something. That's why we dedicate ourselves to something. So, the general tendency in society is to see spirituality or religion, dharma, as one function among many functions, as a department of my life. And I have my family department, work department, recreational department, and the last one, if there's time, spiritual department. And many people manage religion, spirituality, whatever you want to call it, or however you want to see it, as an insurance policy, to make sure that whatever my belief is, that will guarantee me material happiness and protect me from the consequences of my obvious negative activity. But Krishna consciousness is none of the above. No. Krishna consciousness is something very special. And therefore Krishna spoke. Bhagavad Gita is also known as Gita Upanishad, because the Upanishads are very difficult to understand in this age, very technical. And from the Upanishads comes Vedanta Suka. And Srimad Bhagavatam is the expanded understanding of Vedanta Sutra. But to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, which is essential for getting the taste in bhakti, in the very beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it says that you have this Bhagavatam is meant for Homo or Rasika Bhuvi Bhavuka, for those who are Rasika, who have a taste for, and what is that taste? The taste is for hearing about Krishna, and loving Krishna, and serving Krishna. And to do that, we have to understand Krishna. So the theme of Bhagavad Gita, three things: Krishna, matter, and the jiva. Because if we don't understand these three things, it's like many times I explained, Srila Prabhupada was speaking with one French professor, and this French professor said, Swamiji, please explain the esoteric nature of the relationship of Radha and Krishna. And Prabhupada said, who are you? And he said, so-and-so, Professor so-and-so. Said Prabhupada, no, who are you? He said, I am Professor, a PhD, MD, he gave like 10 different titles, graduated from Sorbonne and this and that. He said, no, but I'm asking, who are you? So he turned to one devotee, maybe he doesn't understand my English. And the devotee said, oh, he understands you very well. And therefore he's asking, who are you? And I was completely bewildered. And Srila Prabhupada said, we are not interested in Radha and Krishna. What? Said, first you must understand who you are. And more people have said, you are not this body. And so, he said, until you understand that you are not this body, then you cannot understand anything about Krishna. What to speak of Radha. So, sometimes we overestimate our level of understanding. And I had just my own personal incident. One professor, I was in Dallas, Texas, and one professor, he came, he asked to see me, and he said, why is it that Swami Prabhupada says so many times, I'm not this body? He said, I understand, I understood it. I'm a professor of Indology. I understand, I've studied Hindu texts and this and that. And so, why does he have to say so many times, you're not this body? It's so obvious. And so I saw he had some cigarettes in his pocket. I said, so can you take out that pack? I thought he was going to offer me, Swami wants to smoke. But I said, what does it say on the side? And it said, smoking cigarettes may be hazardous to your health. You read that? I said, how long have you been smoking cigarettes? He said, I forget what he said, 25 years. And I said, so you've seen this many times, but you're still smoking? Yeah. And he said, okay, I understand. And I said, that's fine. And we may think we understand, because perception is very different from truth. Perception is what is agreeable to my emotion, and truth is what is beyond emotion. Actually, beyond truth is real emotion. Truth means Brahman. It means I understand everything from a spiritual perspective. But beyond that is emotion, but spiritual emotion, rasa. So this is perfection of rasa. We have the reflection of rasa, and we want to achieve the perfection of rasa. And that requires a little deeper understanding, and that's why we have these Bhagavad Gita lectures, so that we can practice Krishna consciousness in the right way, with the right consciousness. So I would like to read one text, 7th chapter, text number 28. Desham prantagatam patam jananam punyakananam Iganda mohan mukta vajante mam didavrataha. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated and freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. So everyone can please repeat. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. Purport. Those eligible for elevation to the transcendental position are mentioned in this verse. Chakshuru militam minatasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this first statement, that what we're discussing here is for those who want to be elevated to the spiritual path. It's not for, just like Srila Prabhupada said, if you see two businessmen speaking, or two men speaking in the marketplace, you can be sure they're talking about business. They're not talking about Bhagavad Gita. Because when you speak about Bhagavad Gita, you have to have the desire to elevate yourself. This is the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. This is the purpose of this movement. No, it's not a social club. It's not a quasi-spiritual society that wants to make you feel good. We want everyone to feel good, but we want them to feel good in a real way. No. It's like people can go to the bar and feel good for 2 hours. No. Or they can go to a movie and feel good entering into someone else's imagination for 2 hours. But this is meant, not even to make us feel good, to understand the source of happiness. Because just like if you buy something in some store and you consume it, then you pay a certain price. But if you go to the source, then you get much more quantity at a better price. So the happiness we get in this world is low grade. No. Low grade, made in China. No. Very, very low quality happiness. Low quality because how long does it last? How long does any of our happiness last? You eat, how long does it last? The pleasure. So usually 15 minutes, 20 minutes, you can extend it out, go to a nice restaurant, have a nice atmosphere with little music in the background and nice decorations and talk. Then you extend it out and eat slowly But as soon as you begin to eat, then there's anxiety. If it tastes good, because I want more, and I'm getting full. If it doesn't taste good, then there's already anxiety. It doesn't taste good. Or if you're with somebody else, will they see me eating in the wrong way? Am I following? When I was young, we had Amy Vanderbilt, etiquette, eating etiquette. I had to learn all these things, how to lift up the fork, how to do this at such and such an angle. So am I doing this according to the established authority on how to eat? Or am I just shoving it in my mouth because I'm hungry and the other person will think I'm a glutton? Everything you do in this world, it just produces anxiety. It's made for that. And so many people think, even Einstein, he would read Bhagavad Gita regularly. He never understood Krishna. So one may think, if Einstein couldn't understand Krishna with his big brain, what about with my medium-sized brain? Or maybe less than medium? How will I understand? Because it doesn't require brain. It doesn't require intellect. Intellect can be a deterrent to understanding Bhagavad Gita. It requires, as it says here, Vriddha Vrata, determination. And where does that determination come from? As it says here, right in the verse, when you give up sinful activity. Now here it says, those who have been sinless in previous lives, and in this life. That may disqualify many of us, both in previous and in this life. But, just like here we have Panchatattva, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in the beginning of our movement, maybe 1967, Srila Prabhupada gave a lecture. And he spoke the four regulative principles. Most people in the audience, young people who didn't follow any of the four regulative principles, heard that, and one devotee raised his hand, future devotee. He said, Swamiji, that appears impossible. He said, four. And he said, yes, it is impossible. And they all, oh, okay, but I'm not doing so bad. And he said, but by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the impossible has become possible. So this is our qualification. One devotee in Vrindavan, I was there, he asked Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, so Rupa Goswami said that if one is practicing Krishna consciousness, one must have had exposure, one must have been a devotee in his past life. Does that mean we were devotees, or maybe demigods? Or, you know? And he said, Prabhupada said, no. It means you have very fortunately received the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is your qualification. So maybe everyone here was an associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I don't know, but most likely not. You wouldn't be here. But we're all very fortunate to be here. And therefore, we have to always remember that to be eligible, this is what you have to do to be eligible. We may have missed out on the previous life. We may have missed out on the beginning of this life. And therefore, it says here, Dridhavrata, we should take it very seriously. Dridhavrata means with great determination. Krishna says Dridhavrata in different ways. Dridha Nishchaya. He says it about 15 times. How important it is to have this determination. And that determination comes from hearing this truth. But another way it comes, which is even more important, it comes from sadhu sangha, associating with people who do have that determination. Because generally speaking, anything you learn in this world, it's from internship. And in Krishna consciousness, we have internship. We live or we associate with those people who are determined to practice spiritual life. And they enthuse us. Just like some people may think, well, here he's a sannyasi. That's what he does. He doesn't have to go to work at 8 o'clock in the morning. No, I go to work at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I work until I stop. And because this work is very, as Krishna says, susukam kartam abhyayam. This work of Krishna consciousness it's not just sukha, it's susukha. It's very, very pleasant. And then when one may say, yeah, well, that's okay for you. You don't have to go work at an office or this and that. But Krishna says, if you just offer, we were discussing this yesterday, Mama Anushmara Yudhyacha. If you just remember me, then whatever you do will become your service to me. If you learn how to remember me properly. Remembering Krishna is a science. Everything we're doing in this movement of Krishna consciousness is a science. It's not like something that you just do very casually. It's a science. It's like any science. When I was studying science in school, I remember I I read when I was very new in chemistry that water is a combination of hydrogen and oxygen. So I took a bottle of hydrogen and a bottle of oxygen, sprayed them together, and nothing happened. And then there was a burner lit, and then I accidentally, raised up both of them in a huge flame. I said, I didn't get water, I got fire. So I asked the professor, and he said, no, if you want to do that, it has to be done in a vacuum, and it has to be under pressure. This much pressure in an isolated vacuum, and then it will happen. So of course we couldn't do that, but I understood that it's not just a question of understanding some little process, it's an understanding of creating the environment by which Krishna consciousness will flourish. So that's why we have this temple, or any temple. That's why we have these programs. That's why we have this discussion of Bhagavad Gita, so that in the proper environment, Krishna consciousness can flourish within our heart, within our mind, and overcome the constant intermission of the mind trying to distract us, or the senses trying to pull us away to some attraction that exists in this world. So this is all, that's why it says it. One should be very serious. For those who are sinful, atheistic, foolish, and deceitful, we were just talking about this. Trump, he practically fits into all these categories. And he's supposed to be a big leader. So it is very difficult to transcend the duality of desire and hate. So why is Srila Prabhupada saying this? Because in the previous verse, this is what it says, that Ichadvesha Subhute Na. O Scion of Bharat, O conqueror of the foe. Now why does Krishna say this, conqueror, Dhananjaya, conqueror of wealth, or here, Purnandapa, conqueror of enemies. Purnandapa really means conqueror of austerity, literally means that. Or going through the action of conquering others. So why did he say that? Bharata, which Prabhupada son of Bharat. So, conqueror of the enemy. All living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by the dualities arisen from desire and hate. So what is this desire and hate? Ichadvesha. It means there are 6 enemies of one who wants to progress in spiritual life. These enemies enter into the heart. So these enemies are Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Matsarya, Mada. That lust, anger, greed, illusion, and envy, and madness. And these are progressive. First you have desire. I desire something. Krishna says in the 2nd chapter that Jayato Vishayam Bhumsam Teshu Sangha Pajayate, that Sangha Sangjayate Kama. He said that be careful what you meditate on. Because when you meditate on something, just like a young man or a young woman may see a young woman or a young man, and they're attracted. And then you get this whole thing that goes on through emotions, and everybody knows something about this, unless you're under 13. But anybody over 13 understands this phenomenon. So, but if you don't see the person, it doesn't happen. It's like if someone thinks, oh, this is a very beautiful woman, or this is a very attractive man. And there's a whole thought process that goes on, and a whole emotional process that may come from that. But if you never see them, then it wouldn't happen. So it's just, why is that happening? One can say, well, that's my karma, and so therefore I must do it. No. But no. Bhagavad Gita says, no, you have a choice. You have a choice. And that choice is that I can meditate on this object of the senses, or I can choose not to meditate. And how do you not meditate on something that is so ingrained in our existence? By going deeper. What is even deeper than this attraction between the sexes, or attraction for objects like ice cream, or we go to a bakery, you see nice cake, and you think, oh, I'd like to eat that. And you go deeper, and you find the attraction in Krishna. And that is so deep, when you awaken that attraction, that all these other things, paramdrishtani vartate, they become inferior in comparison. And the attraction doesn't take place. So this is what we're cultivating in spiritual life. Therefore we have to give up sinful, deceitful, untruthful, foolish activities, atheistic. We live in an atheistic society. There may be some mention of religion or something, but the emphasis is an atheistic emphasis. It's like nowadays in most countries in the world, they have what they call the secular approach to education. Because we don't want to offend, there may be some Muslims, there may be some Hindus, there may be some Christians, so we don't want to emphasize anything. And therefore, our whole environment becomes atheistic. And therefore, spiritual progress becomes difficult. Something we were discussing today. Manda sumanda matayo, manda bhagha, tudha, that upadata means unfortunate. It means disturbed. That we're disturbed, we're in a disturbing environment. Just like these little mosquitoes. They're so insignificant. Such a little thing, even a little microbe, it can get into your system and disturb you unlimitedly. One little tiny microbe. You may be the strongest, you may be able to lift, 100 kilos and above your head. But this little microbe can put you in bed for 2 months. And so how powerful are we? How much of a little mosquito can buzz around you and bite you and cause so much disturbance. So this is what we have to deal with. Only those who have passed their lives in practicing the regulative principles of religion, who have acted piously, and who have conquered sinful reactions, can accept devotional service and gradually rise to the pure knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then gradually they can meditate in trance on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here Srila Prabhupada explains something very important. First, we have to go beyond what society is promoting. Just like our devotees, they go out and distribute these books. And basically what we're doing, we're trying to sell someone a book that tells them that everything you're doing is wrong. No. You try that approach in sales. I have a book here that says that you're a fool and that everything you're doing is wrong and you should completely change your existence. Would you like to buy one? So we depend on Krishna's mercy to be able to distribute these transcendental literatures, because it's meant, as it says in the Srimad Bhagavatam, to create a revolution in the lives of the impious. So, you get pure knowledge by giving up these things and by practicing and putting that pure knowledge into practice. Not just that we understand it theoretically, but we put it into practice, which is what I mentioned. We may theoretically understand I'm not this body, but do we understand it? Do we live it? Do I live in such a way that I understand I'm not this body? Then you can meditate in trance on Krishna. Now what does that mean? That means that when we come and See, the deities, we can't pull ourselves away. That's meditative trance. Or when we're chanting the holy name of Krishna, we can't stop. This is trance. Trance is not a temporary thing that I imagine. It's a reality that we can experience. This is the process of being situated on the spiritual platform. This elevation is possible in Krishna consciousness in the association of pure devotees. For in that association of great devotees, one can be delivered from delusion. It is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 552 that if one actually wants to be liberated, he must render service to the devotees, Mahat Sevam Dwarga Mahor Vibhuktes. But one who associates with materialistic people is on the path leading to the darkest region of existence. Pramod Dwargam Darshikam Sangi Sangam. All the devotees of the Lord traverse this earth just to recover the conditioned souls from their delusion. The impersonalists do not know that forgetting their constitutional position as subordinate to the Supreme Lord is the greatest violation of God's law. Unless one is reinstated in his own constitutional position, it is not possible to understand the Supreme Personality or to be engaged in His transcendental loving service with determination. So I've explained a few things, brief. Today, I have with me the good fortune of a devotee from India, Suka Priya Prabhu, and I brought him here to different places. Colombia, Panama, now Trinidad, going to Guyana, and Suriname, and some other places, Mexico, Central America, because I've requested him to help me in this area now that I'm more involved in India. I have to spend more time there. So I wanted to leave some time that all of you could get to know him a little bit and ask him to speak for a few moments. And he's very, very qualified. Qualified speaker, qualified cook, qualified lecturer, qualified kirtan man, very wonderful devotee. Has his Sanskrit training, so he's someone who can hopefully help all of you in the future. I will do my little part, whatever I can do, and hopefully he can also help out. So I wanted him to allow him to speak a few moments, if that's possible, and then you can get to know this very wonderful personality. So thank you very much for your attention, and I'll turn it over to Suka. Krishna just told me it was time, made me sneeze, and time to turn it over. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So it's very thankful to Gurudev that he thinks that I'm qualified, but I'm not. But I will try to do some justice and some seva because he has put a trust in me, so I'll try to speak something from Bhagavad Gita, because this is the book when Prabhupada been asked, if you have option to carry only one book with you, what would you like to carry? He said Bhagavad Gita. Because Bhagavad Gita is the basics and it covers everything. It gives answer to all your questions. So, so when we study Bhagavad Gita systematically and raise questions from Bhagavad Gita, and you find it is very interesting and very, you become like, it becomes like a magnet when you study it. For example, the 8th chapter, in the beginning of the 8th chapter, now Arjuna is silent from a long time. He is not asking any question. And when just this 28th verse Maharaj read and 29th verse, and the last verse is 30th verse, where Krishna is speaking a little bit about Supreme Lord, material manifestation, demigod, sacrifice, like that some words have come. So Arjuna raised questions. In the first 2 shloka of 8th chapter, he has raised 8 questions. Okay, I'll just read the translation. So he says, Arjuna inquired, O my Lord, O Supreme Person, what is Brahman? What is the self? What are the fruitive activities? What is this material manifestation? And what are the demigods? Please explain to me. 5 questions in 1 verse. Okay? Then in the 2nd verse, he says, who is the Lord of sacrifice? And how does he live in the body? 7 questions, and very important. O Madhusudan, how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? So 8 questions total. So, very important question, means the 8th question is meant for all of us. Those who are already engaged in bhakti, how they can remember you or know you at the time of death. Isn't it? You know what is the difference between, what is the final examination of life? Death is the final examination. So what is the question? When you give a difference between material and spiritual examination is, in material exams you know the date, you know the time, you know the venue, but you don't know the questions. Isn't it? But in spiritual examination, you know the question. Question is, what should you remember at the time of death? Answer you know. Ante Narayan Smriti, one should remember Krishna at the time of death. But the date, time and venue is not known. So, and here Krishna, now try to understand this in the next 2 verses. In next 2 verses, 3 and 4, Krishna just gave answer to the 7 questions. Just one-liner answers, not details. He says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the indestructible, transcendental living entity is called Brahman, and his eternal nature is called Adhyatma, the self. The action pertaining to the development of material bodies of the living entity is called karma or fruitive activities. Then he says, O best of embodied beings, the physical nature which is constantly changing is called Adi Bhuta or material manifestation. The universal form of the Lord, which includes all the demigods, like those of sun and moon, is called Adi Deva. And I, the Supreme Lord, represented as the super soul in the heart of every bodily being, am called Adi Yagya, the Lord of sacrifice. So he practically gave answer to all the questions, 7 questions, but except one. Which one? Which one? The most important question. How can you remember at the time? How can someone remember you at the time of death? Maybe Krishna forgot to answer. But something, understand, because what is important, you like to address it exclusively. And what is not important at that moment of time, you may say that, okay, I'll explain later, or we can have one-to-one talk later on. Sometimes in the question answer session we do that. But the important questions, Krishna is not going to ignore it. And also these particular 7 questions asked by Arjuna will be later on discussed from 13th chapter onwards. But here, he is coming to the answer of the 8th question. He says, Antakale cha mameva smarna muktva kalevaram ya prayati samadbhavam nati satra sanshaya. There is no doubt, Arjuna. If you remember me at the time of death, you will come back to me for sure. But this was not the question. The question was how? How can someone remember you at the time of death? Yeah, this is the result of remembering you, that the person will go back to you. Then next he says, Yam yam vapi smarna bhavam tyajante te kalevaram tam tamveti kauntaya sada tad bhava bhavita. And there is also no doubt that if you remember something else other than me, and whatever state of consciousness you have, you will get that kind of body for sure in next life. There's no doubt about it. Again, the question is not answered. He's simply giving the consequences of what happens, what you remember at the time of death. And people think that, the other day Maharaj was saying very beautifully, he said, people want to live like Ajamila. They want to have all fancy life, full of sense gratification and all that. Then they say, oh, we may have 8-10 kids, we give them different names, Govind, Madhav, Ram, Krishna, Murari, like that. And at least one of the son, I will be able to remember the time of death, and I'll be perfectly all right. But it doesn't happen. Yeah, I tell you the true story. I was a young boy in our street. There's someone who's dying on his last days. And in India, people try to encourage people to remember Krishna, holy name of the Lord at the time of death. So they were telling this guy to please chant Ram. Please chant Ram, because they are Ram Bhaktas. Please chant Ram, please say. But he was not saying Ram, because he never practiced whole life. He was just saying, oh, call this person, call that person, what will happen to my business, and what will happen to my daughter, my son. And he was not saying just one word Ram. So then they thought, okay, he's not going to say like that. So they called another person. He's living in the street, his name was Ramnath. His name was Ramnath. At least he will say his name, at least Ramnath. It is also Lord's name. At least he'll get some skriti. He was about to die. So they brought this person Ramnath in front of this guy who's dying. He said, Papa, tell, who is he? Please tell us, who is he? You know what he said? Oh, he's son of so and so person. He didn't say Ramnath. The thing is, what you have not practiced your whole life, you cannot say it at the last moment. Your mind would automatically goes to where you are mostly attached. So anyways, so whatever you remember the time of death, you will get that. But the answer is not given. And then he says, whenever the word comes tasmat, tasmat means therefore, kind of conclusion is given. Krishna says, tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamusmarami yudhyascha Mayo arpetor manor buddhir mame vashya sasanshaya. He says, there is no doubt. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna, and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. Now what is we infer from this? Because as we said, Krishna is trying to say death can come at any time. That's why he says that if you remember me at the time of death, you'll come back to me. Otherwise, whatever you remember, you become that. So death can come any time. That's why Krishna says tasma. Therefore, sarveshu kaleshu. Also meaning of sarveshu kaleshu means 24/7. Sarveshu means all the time. Kaleshu. Kalish means time. All the time. Remember me and do your prescribed duties. He's not saying that do your duties and remember me. He said, while remembering me, you do your duties. Means when you are at the stage where you can remember Krishna 24/7, then there is no worry. Then let death come. Because you're already remembering Krishna, then you go back to Krishna for sure. This is the answer is given. This is the way you can remember. How can you remember Krishna at the time of death? If you can practice to remember Krishna 24/7, then you can remember Krishna at the time of death. Let death come at any time. Mayo arpitor mano buddhir. Invest your mind and intelligence in me. Yesterday Maharaj made a very good point. He said, I generally tell people, you just give 24 hours to Krishna. And whatever time is left, you can do whatever you want to do. Just give 24 hours to Krishna. Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj gave a very heavy statement. Once he said, if you are Krishna conscious for 23 hours, 59 minutes and 59 seconds, and for 1 second, if you are not remembering Krishna, you may not be eligible to go back and back to Godhead. That was very heavy. But Prabhupada said, you chant your minimum 16 rounds attentively, follow 4 regulative principles, and the basic thing, serving Vaishnavas, serving in the temple or whatever. If you do these basic things of Krishna consciousness nicely, you are on the way back home, back to Godhead. There is no doubt about it. Like there was one famous painting in the BBT. I don't know whether they still have in Bhagavad Gita or not. You might have seen in the old Bhagavad Gita that Krishna is sitting on Garuda and he's above the ocean, and there's one devotee is doing like this, and Krishna his hand is like this, trying to catch him. You seen this picture? What does it mean? It's my version of that, the realization that, let's say if you fall in the Atlantic or Pacific Ocean, maybe you are having a Guinness Book of World Record, you're a record holder of your swimming timings or whatever, world best champion of swimming. Can you cross Pacific? You cannot. You cannot. Unless and until some other help comes, or some helicopter comes there, or some ship comes there to rescue you. But you have to do only one thing while you're waiting for the rescue operation to happen, or you're waiting for a helicopter or another ship to come. What you have to do, just one thing you have to do, till any help arrives. What is that? What is that? What? Stay alive. How? Just keep your neck above the water. That's the only thing you have to do. Because if you're inside water, if you're submerged in water, even the helicopter will come, they're not able to search you. So all you have to maintain, you have to keep your neck outside the water so that helicopter or any help, whichever comes, can see you. Same way, we have no qualification to go back to Godhead. Only by mercy of Krishna, only by causeless mercy of the spiritual master, this parampara, we can go back to Godhead. And if we do our spiritual life nicely, and 4 regular principles and chanting and everything, that means keeping our head above the Maya. Above Maya means not falling in Maya. So this is Bhavasagar, you are in the Bhavasagar, in the ocean of material existence, and you keep your head outside the water by following the basic minimum given by the acharyas, and then Krishna will come and take you. Now the last question remains, how to reach the stage of Tasma Sarveshu Kaleshu? How to reach the stage where we can remember Krishna 24/7? Isn't it? Now we have to struggle to remember Krishna. Our mind goes to any other place without any efforts. But to remember Krishna, we have to put so much effort. We have to remember, what Krishna is wearing today, what Gaurnita is wearing today, what is the dress. So much of struggle. But you want to think anything about your favorite movie actor or anyone, a celebrity, their picture is live, sharp, maybe 4K printed in your mind. Not full HD, 4K resolution. So, the answer Krishna gives in the next verse. He says, Abhyasa yog yuktena chetasa na anyagamina. He said, Abhyas, practice, do practice. Practice of yoga. Yoga means bhakti yoga. Practice bhakti yoga. Abhyasa yoga yuktena. How? By engaging. Yuktena means engaging. Chetasaha, by engaging your chitta. Chitta means your consciousness. By engaging your consciousness, your mind and intelligence in the bhakti yoga, when you practice this nicely, then there is a stage will come where you can remember Krishna 24/7, and in that stage, if death comes, no problem. Ante kale chamam sanmukta kaleva. You remember Krishna at the time of death. So this way he answered Arjuna's question. If you study Bhagavad Gita like this, it's amazing. It's so powerful, so wonderful book. It gives so many answers. So we have already given Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti means abhyas, a practice. We simply have to practice what is given by Prabhupada. The program, chanting, reading, eating prasadam, associating with devotees, serving the deities, serving Vaishnavas. So that program we have to follow. But we have to invest our consciousness in that. Many times, for example, when we come in the Mangala Arati, we sing Mangala Arati, our lips are singing, maybe throat is also making voice, samsara, but the mind is somewhere else. Mind is in the sansar, somewhere else in the sansar, means in the word. But investing consciousness means whatever you do, if you're doing a service, whatever service you're doing, whichever arti you're singing, invest your consciousness in the meaning behind it. You bring your mind to that particular state, whatever service you're doing at that moment. So that is called investing that is called chetasa. Yuktena chetasa, engaging with your consciousness, not just doing a robotic service. So, this is the secret Krishna has given us, how to remember him at the time of death. So if you have another 2-3 minutes, I would like to speak a little more. Is that okay? So another thing you can see what should be the effect of studying Bhagavad Gita. Sometimes people say, oh, I have read Bhagavad Gita. I remember all the 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita. I have read Bhagavad Gita 3-4 times, but there is no change of consciousness. Right? You don't see change of consciousness in them. What should be the effect of Bhagavad Gita? In the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, the first chapter, if you see Arjuna is commanding Krishna. He's giving a command to Krishna. Senyor ubhyor madhye sito osmi mayachyuta. Hey Achyut. Achyut means infallible. Oh infallible, please take my chariot in the middle of both the armies. He's not saying, oh Krishna, please, if you feel like you can take. No, he said, take my chariot there. He's commanding because Krishna is the chariot driver, so he's commanding his driver to take his chariot. He's telling Krishna, what is telling? Achyuta. And another place, the same word Achyuta has come. As Maharaj said, whatever Arjuna is addressing Krishna with different names, it has a meaning behind it. And whatever Krishna is telling Arjuna with different names, it has a meaning behind it. Not like they're just doing some flattery, with different names, no. So in the 18th chapter, in one of the last verses of Arjuna says, Nashta moha smritir labdva tvat prasadan mayachyuta sito asmi gata sandeha karishyase vachanantva. O Krishna, by your mercy, O infallible one, O Achyuta, by your mercy, my all illusion has gone. I regain my consciousness. I'm ready to do whatever you say now. Now the difference is, in the first chapter, Arjuna is commanding, take my chariot there. And the last chapter is sitting like this. But the same word is addressed, the Krishna is being addressed with the same word, that is Achyuta. What is the difference between Achyuta in the first chapter and Achyuta in the last chapter? But you see the difference in consciousness? Arjuna from commander to become humble, That should be the effect of Bhagavad Gita. But in the first chapter, when Arjuna is telling Krishna as Achyuta, or infallible one, and ordering Krishna, why he used this word, he wants to tell others, though I am commanding Krishna, it seems that, maybe Krishna is my driver, but Krishna is infallible from his position as a Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is still the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It doesn't matter, he's just acting as my driver. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's why he's Achyuta. And the 18th chapter, he says that Nashta moha smritir labdva. By your mercy, all my illusion is gone. Who can remove your illusion? Who is beyond the illusion. The person who doesn't fall in Maya. That's why Krishna is addressed Achyuta, infallible, the person who doesn't fall in Maya. The person who's beyond Maya, only that person can open your eyes, change your consciousness and remove your ignorance. That's why Arjuna is addressing Krishna as Achyuta again in the 18th chapter. But the difference of consciousness is Arjuna has become humble and surrendered. So that is the effect of Bhagavad Gita. If you study it properly and you chant the holy name of Krishna, there is no question you will not surrender to Krishna. So thank you very much. These were my some thoughts on Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Anyone has any question, comment? Okay. You know, the question, no question means only in the two states. One, you didn't understand anything. And second, you understood everything. So if you understood everything, then do it. Okay? Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Granth Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Samaveta Gaur Bhaktavinda ki jai, Gaur Nitai ki jai, Nitai Gaur Hari Premanande. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.